madness.
The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop, that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that Rated Rookie logo.
Doing more buy-in.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number to 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these optic on-card autos are money.
Alrighty, football cards, collecting and investing. Obviously, the biggest topic from week 1 were the quarterbacks. It was such a weird week, Andy, when it comes to how poorly some of the elite quarterbacks actually played. And I also think Tua might actually be just very, very, very freaking good. I might be totally wrong on this long-term prediction, but I do feel we should lead Andy. And also, a little bit later, I'm really excited about college uniform cards. We'll talk about that coming up. But, Andy, I think the biggest takeaway from week 1 is what happened with both Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson cards.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, man. What a tragedy. 4th play in Monday Night Football, tears his Achilles, done for the season. The second Achilles we had this week. And here comes Zach Wilson. Of course, they've got incredible weapons. The Breece Hall show was on full display, the run game, and you've got Dalvin Cook there as well. Garrett Wilson literally made like the most unbelievable catch you can imagine. Jets come away with the win in overtime with a punt return. Zach Wilson's cards literally spiked pretty crazily. Like I was able to go back to like the end of June and find a rookie ticket auto, Cracked Ice, for example, that sold for around $400. This same card went for $1,200 last night. And I saw this across the board. Like I was seeing people spend upwards of $500 for a Silver Prism PSA 10. And I know there's some grade chasing from 2021 Prism on the PSA 10s because the gym rate or the PSA 10 hit rate is so low. But to see that kind of money going for that card, that was higher than what I've seen some Justin Fields go for. That was higher. And, that's one situation. But across the board, generally speaking, there was a massive spike between 100 to 400%, depending on how people had them listed. There's been several hundred buy it now transactions from the game last night till right now.
It shows you the power of Monday Night Football as well, Andy. I would love a deep dive on how much that affects card prices more than anything else, because I had some Calvin Ridley auctions in during his game, and he was really freaking good. You could just use, the eye test. You could see how great he is, and it didn't really do anything. I think if he would have done that on Monday Night Football, it would have been a lot different, right? And I think everyone's seeing Zach Wilson go out there and win the game gets him excited. Also, Zach Wilson is a short, unathletic quarterback. A lot of people relate with that. I see what people still pay for Baker Mayfield cards, and we know he's not that great, even though he won for your Buccaneers in week 1. So I think that is the biggest takeaway for me, Andy. With quarterbacks who still have some gas left in the tank and they've had some buzz in the past, it's important if you have those cards to not just panic sell them because there's always the potential for even a bad player to get another news spike.
100%. Yeah, 100%. They get these opportunities just like Zach Wilson's gotten here because it's not like he played great. I mean, he struggled at times to make reads. He threw an interception. He took 2 sacks. He had a quarterback rating 81.5, but, they're going to quickly forget about that because of the overtime win and the weapons they have around him. So, and obviously he's a young guy with the draft capital. I think that's the things that you could find in common. It's kind of like, if Trey Lance were to miraculously get a start on Dallas, if Dak and Cooper Rush both went down and Trey Lance got a miraculous start, I guarantee you his cards would spike as well, even if he just had a subpar performance. It's kind of one of those things. And in fact, with so few quarterbacks going up after week 1, Carter, I mean, the list is so small. It's Tua, it's Brock Purdy, it's Jordan Love, and it's Zach Wilson because of an injury. but it's literally those are the three quarterbacks that won their game and played pretty well. Outside of that, you have a lot of quarterbacks that just pushed. You're seeing some sold volume. They're not really appreciating. And then you had a ton of guys that are actually going down from week one because they just played so poorly. There was literally, I stopped counting because I was like at 30 turnovers from quarterbacks, and it just kept going. Like there was like so many turnovers this past weekend from really good quarterbacks, like all the big names, So it's had a massive impact.
And pay close attention to what the Jets decide to do, right? If you still have some Taylor Heineke cards, be ready to freaking go. If you still have some, like me, Jameis Winston cards, had those cards listed. If these star QBs continue to go down, I think a lot of teams could talk themselves into giving Jameis a shot here. So, yeah, I do agree with you, Andy. The quarterback play overall this weekend was just terrible. The elite guys that we know are elite. Josh Allen was absolutely terrible. Joe Burrow was terrible. Lamar, 6 fantasy points, nothing really to get excited about there. It wasn't a good day. But, Andy, I think an even bigger story is those guys will return back to play is how bad last year's rookie class had outside of, Purdy, right? Kenny Pickett, as the chat is chatting right now, is looking kind of midula here. He is very mid at this point, and some of the other QBs from that class are just ugh.
Yeah, they look bad. I mean, even Sam Howell, who won his game,
Right.
the Commanders, even Desmond Ridder, who won his game. I think you're going to see the Falcons once again this year as the most run-heavy team in the NFL. I mean, and your boy, I got to shout you out, Carter, because you were beating the table for Tyler Algier. He said, "Don't fade this guy. He's going to have a big role in the starting offense." And look, lo and behold, he actually had more carries than Bijan week one. Puts up 2 touchdowns. I still think that Bijan is the better running back. If you look at the plays Bijan was able to make on his opportunities, like, whoa, he blows you away with his vision and his ability to evade tackles. But Tyler Algier is just he's a stud. He's a bruiser. So I think both of those guys could potentially be like fringe RB1, RB2s. Like it would be the best running back duo in the league after this year. But I mean, yeah, I look at that. Desmond Ritter's a push. His team gets a win, but he throws for like 100 yards and doesn't really have to do anything. The same thing with Dak Prescott. And then I look at Sam Howell and I'm like, yeah, his team won too, but it was barely. Like he puts up a touchdown in the first quarter, and then it's not till the fourth quarter where he scrambles one in. So, he had 2 turnovers in that game as well. You mentioned Lamar, another 2 turnovers. He had difficulty maintaining ball security. And once again, his legs are going to, dictate kind of how they're able to extend drives. So it was interesting seeing, a combination of play calling and just like being rusty. Maybe it's due to them not playing as much in the preseason as well. These starters, like, look at Joe Burrow maybe as a prime example.
And then we got to get to the guy that I think had the worst weekend in terms of people thinking about panic selling at this point. And Andy, I was going through all the quarterbacks this morning, getting ready for the show, and we apologize for having to start a little bit earlier today because of work obligations. But I do want to chat about Justin Fields. Just a very average performance all around. I think out of all the guys who got the hype, I think most people in their gut kind of knew that Desmond Ridder is just a guy. Sam Howell is just a guy. Kenny Pickett kind of sort of with the defensive coach is just a guy. But Justin Fields was different. He was a fantasy winner for a lot of people last year. He's in such a massive market in Chicago where they are hungry for a quarterback. And Andy, he looked painfully average.
Yeah, he had 2 turnovers too, struggling to maintain ball security. He also took 4 sacks. So once again, taking too long with the ball, combination of that, and then also offensive line struggles. But the Bears fans that I talked to that watch the game, that are experienced NFL and fantasy gamers that study this, Steve Caladesi and my man Taps, both of them said the play calling from the Bears was terrible. So
Yeah.
if there was one quarterback that I saw dip from this past week, and we saw that there was like a 20 to 30% dip in the auction values of Justin Fields from Sunday to Monday. And that's the thing. There are a tremendous amount of auctions ending on Monday. So you're either going to be painfully good and great and be, licking your chops because of all the dough you just made, like on Tua, or you're going to be painfully wrong and you're going to get like 20 to 30% lower than what you were anticipating getting. But Justin Fields is a guy that I am buying the dip on.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not buying it this week, baby, because they're coming to Tampa. They're playing my Tampa Bay Buccaneers this Sunday at 1 o'clock. So I got to be ready for that. Our defense, I told you they were underrated. So that was fun. That was fun to watch. But yeah, Carter, Justin Fields is a guy that I'm buying the dip on.
Yeah, and we see some of the comments here. Obviously, Brad Nolan is a diehard Bears fan. I know he's feeling the pain. Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, and Jordan Love looked pretty solid, all things considered. And once again, it's that 2020 draft class. Everybody in that class had a huge weekend outside of Burrow, right? And maybe Herbert, but he lost in kind of a duel there. But man, the 2020 draft class, it just seems every week. I mean, Micah Parsons looked like the best player in the NFL on Sunday night. It just seems every week that class just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the others just keep getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So it's very interesting. From a pure price analysis, Andy, before we get to more of your comments, what really stood out to you as far as other players, not only quarterbacks, but just everyone in general, that really took a spike after just this last weekend's games?
Hey, Brandon Ayuk. We got to talk about Brandon Ayuk. I told you. All right, at least in week 1, he dominated Jamar Chase, but we'll see how that goes for the rest of the season. But no, his cards did double in value. Of course, I sold my Brandon Ayuk that I picked up at the National, doubled my money there. I saw like a big. It's interesting. Whenever I research these skill position players, like whenever I looked up Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, even Jacoby Myers, those kind of guys from this past weekend, I see a big focus on their rookie autos. Calvin Ridley was another one. So there are a lot of sold transactions between that $50 to $100 mark for their rookie autograph cards. You can definitely see more people gravitate towards that portion of their sports card market over other ones. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of like, $2 to $5 cards like the base optics and stuff like that. But a big bulk of the buy it now transactions that I find, sold transactions, are of those rookie autographs in that like kind of mid-tier range. And that's where I love to focus on, because I think it's a sweet spot for skill position players. And then, of course, you have a couple high-end transactions. Like there's a couple really big transactions on Calvin Ridley over the weekend. So that was impressive. But yeah, definitely some spikes in skill position players from that. But once again, the list is pretty small, man. The list is pretty small. There are a couple running backs that definitely spiked. It's hard to kind of quantify how much they spiked because their prices were already pretty high coming into the season. So when you look at Bijan Robinson, I mean, the Luminance year 1 rookie auto was already selling for like $150. So for it to go up more, it's difficult. He's really like, he's got to get his plus Tyler Algiers, and then it would have gone up, and spiked to 250 kind of thing. So it's always, right now we're recalibrating, like, what were these players expected to do? What was already baked in to their prices? And then what did they actually do? And did that actually drive their prices up or down? Or did it really just push it? And meaning the sold volume is going to stay elevated, but the price is really just going to pretty much stay the same for the time being.
Yeah, sometimes you have to use the eye test, right? Matt Harmon, reception perception, freaking loved Brandon Ayuk. I've watched a lot of Brandon Ayuk because his good friend is LSU's quarterback, Jaden Daniels. So I've seen him for a while now, going back to Arizona State. And he is so good. Like, he is so good at football. Now, is he going to have the spike weeks every week? No, because Shanahan's offense has so many different weapons. But, God, he's a winning player. He blocks. He does his job. He used to be in Shanahan's doghouse. It looks like I'm totally wrong on the 49ers. They look to be absolutely amazing. And we shall see what happens. But this is why we're here, man. I make a lot of bold predictions. I get some things wrong, get some things right. That's the fun part about it. But once again, if you want to support us, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Quest. I drafted a lot of Brandon Ayuk, not only on Underdog, but in home leagues. He looks really freaking good. Andy, I think for me, one thing that stood out is coaching, how much it matters in the NFL. And what was very interesting, and this is just kind of like a general point, is week one, Kyle Shanahan was the MVP. All his coaches had huge weekends. In a weekend that was just huge, like just bad coaching all around, Robert Saleh had the most impressive win of the weekend. D'Amico Ryans, even though they lost, they shut down Lamar Jackson. And then, of course, Mike McDaniel and Matt LaFleur won games on the road as underdogs. So I am interested to see like how much coaching matters, because I saw a lot of defensive-minded head coaches really underperform this weekend, and it seems like offensive-minded coaches are the way to go. I'm just bringing that up, Andy, because you always bring this up, how important winning is. If your team wins, people just want your cards more, and your cards are more relevant come playoff time.
That is true. That is very true. And it's also closely correlated with the whole MVP narrative, you know? So you look at Tua, and Tua did have 2 interceptions in this game, but he also threw for 466 yards and threw the ball almost twice as much as Justin Herbert. And then I look, I'm like, wait a minute. Kellen Moore comes over, and we thought we were going to get this high-paced, explosive Chargers offense, but they had a 60% run, 40% pass ratio. And I'm like, why? In this type of environment, I guess they were trying to control the possession, you know, keep the ball out of Tua and Tyreek Hill's hands so they'd stop putting up points. You know, so it all kind of, you know, they're trying to get that control of the game clock and everything. And Austin Eckler was incredible. Austin Eckler is once again him, you know, with CMC. And your boy Aaron Jones, I know you've been an Aaron Jones fan for forever. So, yeah, play calling was very interesting. We did get to see like a lot on display from the Baltimore Ravens in this new offense. Zay Flowers looked incredible. You know, I've got to pour some out for JK. He's going to be hanging out with Rodgers. But the Texans really surprised me, man. I thought the Texans looked very solid to go into Baltimore and to keep the game that close that they did. And then also to generate the turnovers that they did and the pressure they put on Lamar Jackson. This was incredible. I'm excited about the Texans defense. That young kid, Will Anderson, is the real deal. And even Derek Stingley, I know he gave up. I saw him give up a touchdown. I think that may have been the touchdown to Zay Flowers. But I think this Texans defense and the coaching for the Texans, I think they're kind of on the up and up. I'm kind of interested in this Texans team.
Yeah, and we'll get to a few questions here before we get into hobby tip of the week and play of the week. I saw 2 from Card Vibe here saying he ended the Garrett Wilson auction too early. He ended it at halftime of Monday Night Football instead of the end of the game, and you missed the highlight catch for a potential spike. That happened to me too, Card Vibe, a few years ago. The same exact thing. Brian Edwards, of all people, caught like a ridiculous touchdown to make it go into overtime. The exact same thing. And obviously Edwards isn't the same player that your guy is. But yeah, if you're going to end a Monday Night Football auction, end it for the end of the game. Now, it does end late, and you kind of cut off the East Coast, but especially if it's a New York team, end it late. Because, you know, that's where the game was, right? The East Coast is more likely to stay up for a game with East Coast teams. And you say no more auctions. Okay. Let's see. Someone asked, is this a good time to buy Breece Hall? No, I wouldn't do that for a few reasons, Andy. The first is he just had a huge game on Monday Night Football. Huge game. He looked freaking top 5 running back in the league. And you've made money on Breece Hall as well, Andy. I would say no, because he did have that huge game on Monday Night Football, and this team is going to start losing. There's no way that they're going to keep winning. So, Andy, I'm out on buying Brees Hall. What you should have done is bought him before the season and do what Andy does in the card Patreon, which is look at your athletic score and see how good you really are. So, Andy, I'm out buying Brees Hall, but he does look to be pretty good.
Yeah, he does, and he's got a sizable role in the offense, and it's tantalizing. But you really needed to have your exposure already.
Yeah.
I do see his prices in the sports card world up about 25 to 30% across the board. So there's definitely going to be extra hype this week for him, especially whenever people, now they got the news that Zach Wilson is their starting quarterback. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense. They're going to lean more heavily on the run game with Brees Hall, Dalvin Cook. It's deep. Even Izzy Abanikanda is good. So I think, like you're going to see going forward, depending on how well they play, they got a tough schedule, Carter. I mean, this is a no joke schedule coming up here for the Jets. So depending on how good they play, it's going to be tough for his prices to keep going up. Like you said, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, I think that, people can look back and look at what we actually have an extended sample size of Zach Wilson, and it got to the point where they actually benched him. And so not a whole lot has changed from Zach Wilson's standpoint last year. So I think we could get to another point like that with the Jets, where it's going to be these defensive grind of games, and people will eventually be like, come on, if Zach Wilson could just do anything, we could win a game. I mean, that's the point we're at down the stretch last year. And he was all the Jets players' values were suppressed. Brees Hall may be the only guy that can break out of that besides Garrett Wilson. But yeah, Carter, it's just, you're right, man. It's too much downside buying in now at this point.
Let's go through the rookie quarterback class really quickly. Really, only Anthony Richardson looked like amazing. I know his stuff is a little bit different because he gives you so much more fantasy value than the other guys. But did anything stick out to you from those three guys, Andy? Bryce, CJ, and AR?
Yeah, Bryce, the Panthers' offensive line really struggled, and Bryce threw 2 interceptions as well. You also see a complete lack of weapons for the Panthers. He immediately gravitated towards Hayden Hurst, his tight end. He was the target leader. So I think that's it's going to be a struggle for Bryce Young this year. If I look at AR, I was actually pretty impressed, man. He was able to connect really well with Michael Pittman Jr. You saw some nice things from him in the passing game. He also took 10 carries for 40 yards, ran a touchdown, and threw a touchdown, which was a screenplay with Michael Pittman Jr. generated like 40 yards after the catch. And you could see the size of AR, but some of those hits that he took, he's going to have to learn to slide to protect himself a little bit better. He did bruise his knee and apparently his ankle in this game. He's okay. Yeah. It's not going to hold him out any time. But, I mean, he's got to be more careful. It doesn't matter if you're 6'6", 250. Like, you still – I mean, there was a couple hits that Josh Allen took last night where I wasn't sure he was getting up, man. He got pummeled. And so, he's just got to – he's going to have to learn. I know there's going to be designed runs. Jalen Hurts does a really good job of protecting himself as a rushing quarterback. So, I would look to him if I was AR, like on kind of how to play that role. So yeah, I thought that was impressive. The Colts actually did a lot better than I thought they were going to do against Jacksonville. And then CJ Stroud, I thought he was okay. I thought it was pretty solid. I thought between him and AR, like I think there's upside there later this season for those guys. I look at them as potentially having a lot of downside. Now, if there's going to be auctions that tank because maybe they go 0-2, 0-3. Now all of a sudden, that's when I'm going to start buying and hunting those guys' rookie cards because they are so young and they have such high draft capital and they do have starting roles. I know there's going to be a ton of future hype spike opportunities for those guys. So you could almost, wait a little bit and then buy into them at an even lower price.
Let's go to Forbes here. I have a ton of Brandon Ayuk base prism and optic that would grade high. Should I bundle these and sell them now or sell them raw? If you have a ton, what you could do is just 99 cent one of them while he's super hot right now, and get some of the cash back on that, and put all the rest of them up as buy it nows. And if you think one is absolutely pristine and there's some rarity, I don't think I would grade a base prism really ever for a skill guy. But that's just me, unless you think it's just absolutely pristine. But yeah, if you think one just looks absolutely amazing, send it to Andy. And join the Patreon. Send it to Andy, and he'll get it graded for you. So, yeah, I would move some of it now, but hold on to some of it if you have a lot.
Yeah, you can always do one listing with a photograph of one card and list that you have quantity. I do this with some cards that have big stacks of like base rated rookies, and you could list them at $5 each or $4.99 and sell them with a plain white envelope. And you could probably ship one of those out a day, or offer like a shipping discount if they buy multiples. I would carefully inspect them, because getting the 10 is definitely, like Carter said, it's going to be the way that you add value, but getting a 9 is not going to do anything for you. So you want to be you want to try and give yourself a very high chance of getting back a 10. And I think you can do that with proper pre-grading. So that's one thing I do for the premium members through patreon.com/footballcards. When we do our PSA group subs, A, the guys don't have to have a membership. B, I do look over them, because I've had a ton of success in getting back a high rate of 10s. So I know what to look for, and if I find stuff that I found a lot of stuff that's just like glaring, that you don't want to send it in if that's the case.
Yeah, Forbes, just DM me after. We'll get you all set up there. But yeah, for me, I'm still bullish on Bryce Young. I wasn't a big CJ Stroud fan going into Houston and having to kind of revitalize that whole team. I like Nico, but not a huge fan of the offensive weapons there. So yeah, I've always just kind of felt Bryce 1, AR 2, CJ 3, just based on where they landed. And we'll see if Ryan Tannehill keeps sucking. Do we get the Malik Willis or Will Levis show coming up? So yeah, it should be very interesting. But overall, QBs as a whole sucked this weekend. They just did. They were not at their absolute best, but we did see some other big time performances. Okay, so let's get to a few more questions, and then we'll get to hobby tip of the week. CH says, hold, buy, or sell Tua and Trevor Lawrence. And I do want to include, I made a mistake earlier. Someone called me out on it. Micah Parsons is class of 2021. I said he was class of 2020. I get confused because he sat out his final year at Penn State, but still, you are right. Buy, hold, or sell Tua T-Law. Andy, I go to you.
Yeah, I think Tua is still going up. I watched an auction. Now, you're going to have to raise your max bids on the auctions that you're trying to snipe. Like, I tried to snipe a base Prism PSA 10 last night for 51, lost out on it, but only for 57. I look at that card compared to Jalen Hurts, it's 150. Burrow 250, Herbert around 150 to 200. So Tua has still got room to go up. You're buying on the way up, but he's still got room to go up. If you look at their upcoming schedule, they're going to New England to play this weekend. They're playing in New England, but then week 3 it's at home against the Broncos. So we could very well be seeing a 3-0 Miami Dolphins team. If he's 3-0 and Tua's putting up 400 plus passing yards a game like he's doing, Tua's prices are going to go up a lot more from where they're at now. So he's definitely a buy. Trevor Lawrence for me would be a sell personally. I think, and I've always kind of felt this way. There's been times where Trevor Lawrence has looked great, but on the most times, Trevor Lawrence looks average. He looks okay. He looks fine, but he doesn't look like he's going to be something special. That's my take, Carter. I would sell Tua, or not Tua. I would sell Trevor Lawrence on the hype of winning week 1, even though it was like, it's kind of just blah. It was average. He actually had an interception, did throw 2 touchdowns. He had 103.8 quarterback rating, but I did get to catch quite a bit of that game. It was on when I was watching the Bucs game. and I just wasn't too impressed with his reads, his decision making, the quickness, I just don't. I don't know, man. I think you should sell high on this Trevor Lawrence hype, because this could be the peak all season for him.
You know what? I have grown. And coming out of the NFL draft, I had Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. I was wrong, really wrong. I have become more bullish on Trevor Lawrence. I used to just think it was athleticism. You go look at his college stats; they weren't really as good as people pointed out now. But you actually look at what happened to the Clemson offense after he left, Andy. It's fallen apart. It is absolutely nothing. It is dreadful, woefully bad. And it's not for a lack of talent. They've got 5 stars. Dabo just won a good offensive coach, and T-Law's offensive coordinator went to Virginia, and he is the worst coach in college football. So now he's with Doug Peterson. I like Trevor moving forward. I really, really, really do. So I've grown to like him more. The guy that I have always faded, and honestly, he has made me money, is Justin Herbert. And I've said it, and Andy, I've said it on here before, and it wasn't met with a lot of, welcoming takes. I always get called out for saying Tua is overrated. I might be totally wrong on that. But the one guy whose prices I have never understood is Justin Herbert. Never understood it. And the reason why it made me money was because during that rookie season, I saw where his prices were, and then I saw where Joe Burrow's prices were, and I was like, well, holy hell, I know who's better of these two. And it might be my bias, but I was like, I'll take that bet any day of the week. So I bought a lot of Joe Burrow because I felt comfortable with the difference between him and Justin Herbert. And it could be that Brandon Staley is a total fraud. The Chargers have spent a lot of money on that defense. Their defense is still terrible. Okay. I understand Herbert's had, injuries surrounding him, Derwin James, whoever else. But I think he's one of these guys, Andy, that people want to put in the elite tier. But I don't get elite results. And the point of all of this is how much was already baked into his price going back to when he had a few really good games in the Rocket Arm and the LA market his rookie year. So, man, if I bought a lot of Justin Herbert in the past, I'm starting to get a little worried right now.
Yeah, I would be too. You got to be worried. Brandon Staley definitely looks like a fake elite coach, and he's supposed to be this defensive mastermind, and the defense looked terrible yesterday, obviously. And it's a combination of how good the Miami offense is, but they didn't adjust. You're a big guy on studying the film and talking about adjustments that need to be made during games, and they didn't adjust, man. And it's just I think that you're right. I think Herbert could be one of the biggest fallers potentially this season, to where his cards, like I'm already seeing across like the base PSA 10 market that we looked at, his cards are now lower than Jalen Hurts. I'm looking at a new trend of his base Prism PSA 10 for 120. If you look at some of like the NFL debut base from Mosaic, that's like a $30 card, the base absolute $30. So you can see the down percentages here between 10 and 20% on a lot of these base PSA 10s. And I know the percentage hasn't going to be that severe for his rookie auto market, but I wouldn't be surprised if that quickly follows, especially if people continue to put cards into auction, which a lot of major consignment shops, a lot of major dealers do continue to put cards in auction regardless of what the hype is for a player, because they want to move product.
Yeah. And there was a time on here I was like, man, I've never bought a Justin Herbert auto. I just never have had one. And I said, you know what? I need to get one. What if I'm missing out on something? I've not missed out on Jack Swat. I'm glad I did not actually do it. I do think Tua is a little bit more of a respectful buy because people were getting it when he was way lower than everybody else. But imagine if you just bought a $32,000 Justin Herbert card and you see him getting outdueled by Tua, who could barely stay on the field, right? Herbert, I'm worried about that coaching situation. We'll see if QJ pops up, but his receivers are old, and maybe he's just an Austin Eckler merchant. Maybe it's Eckler propping him up. I don't know. So there you go. Let's go to Family Burnliner here. He wants a more solid question about football cards in general. And by the way, if you do super chat and you want your question answered right now, the money goes to Andy and all the analysis he does. So we'll go straight to it. But Burliner's been rocking with us for a while. Big picture question: which ultra modern set outside of Optic, Prism, Select, National Treasures, and Flawless do you value the most, Andy?
Wow, that's easy for me. Contenders, Optic Contenders, Base Contenders. Not sure if he intentionally left that out. The other one that he left out that I would say is top is Immaculate. Immaculate, however you want to say it. Those two sets are massive for me, and I'm targeting rookie patch autos from Immaculate or rookie autos. The eye blacks, the RPAs, they're all beautiful from that set. And then I'm also targeting those rookie ticket autos from Optic, and all the color parallels are beautiful. I love the Optic Contenders rookie ticket autos, and then the base Optic or base Contenders rookie ticket autos are nice as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Mosaic, and I was like, how much Mosaic do I actually have? And I was like, I really don't have a whole lot. So, yeah, what Andy said, I'm still always going to be a rookie ticket auto guy to a certain extent, even if it's, man, I got a Brandon LaFell rookie ticket auto I bought recently. So, yeah, I actually have a Contenders Dante Jackson. I think he's still with the Panthers right here. So I always have Contenders nearby. Yeah, boy. Now we get to a hobby tip of the week, Andy. And okay, let's go straight to Derek's super chat. In case everyone was asleep early last night, Milf Wilson now has more offensive tackle, overtime wins than Josh Allen. How about that?
And that's a big reason why Milf Wilson's prices are going up through the roof right now. And Josh Allen's auctions are going 20 to 30% under current market value.
And everybody just kind of trashed Patrick Mahomes for losing week 1. And he ended up having one of the better weeks out of any of the quarterbacks. I would have never thought that. I thought a few quarterbacks were really going to go off. It was just a weird weekend.
Yeah, that INT was on Tony Butterfingers. I mean, that wasn't Mahomes. Mahomes actually looked like the best football player on that field.
Yeah, and they get Chris Jones back and Kelsey pretty soon. Andrew Perry says, if you have the choice at the current prices, Justin Fields or McCorkle Jones?
Yeah, Mac Jones. What world are we living in when Mac Jones is the second highest fantasy quarterback in week 1? And so I'm really liking what Bill O'Brien is bringing, what Mac Jones is bringing. This is super interesting here. If I had the choice at the current prices, you can get Mac Jones at half of what you can get Justin Fields, maybe even a little bit less. I've been getting a lot of offers on my Mac Jones rookie auto that I bought a month or two ago, and I'm not selling it, man. I'm holding it to see what happens with this thing, and I don't think it's necessarily from a win-loss standpoint. I think it's still going to be tough, even though they are the Patriots. So they're the team with a great defense and great coaching now that. They can win games, and without Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, with Josh Allen throwing 4 interceptions a game, I mean, the things are up in the air between them and the Dolphins. This is interesting, man. The whole AFC East has been shooken up. The NFC North, though, is also, I still think, kind of up in the air, even though the Bears got off to a very rocky start. Man, this is a tough one, Carter. Golly, I got to pick one. Like at gunpoint, I got to pick Fields or Mac Jones. I mean, I've already got the exposure to Mac Jones, and I don't think I'm going to buy into the Fields. But if I did, I'd probably pay up and buy into the Fields, just from an athletic standpoint.
McCorkle, I can't believe I'm about to say McCorkle Jones, even though I'm still holding out for my Justin Fields being a Pro Bowl level quarterback. I might be totally out on that. Now we get to hobby tip of the week here, and I want to rely on Ryan because he was at Dallas Card Show this weekend, Rhino. So, Ryan, feel free to type out a full response because we're going to need your opinion on the Dallas card show over the weekend. But my hobby tip of the week, Andy, is go to card shows during the hot football market and bring your stuff because people will buy during the hot football market, which is these couple of months leading into the season. But my tip is also just a general thing. Just go to football card shows in general. I went to the Dallas Card Show in January, and I was able to obtain some stuff really low because while it was the playoffs, there was a lot of guys who weren't playing, who weren't, in the news cycle really. So my tip is always go to shows. Shows are so much better than just looking at cards on a screen. You're able to see so many different cards at a show. And as much as I like doing the show with Andy every week, it was even better being with Andy, one of my good friends, in person, right? Especially if your really longtime friends are going. So go to shows and cash deals. There's plenty of people that'll cash you out. You might need to sell at 70-80% comps, which some of you might not want to do, but yeah, go to shows. It's a game changer. Now, Andy, for you, hobby tip of the week.
Yeah, I can't wait to get out to some more local shows. My hobby tip this week is something very interesting. I got to shout out to my man Taps because he actually showed me this. If you open the eBay app on your phone and you go to the search, instead of typing out what you're searching for, there's a little camera icon that is right next to the search bar. You see it right there?
Yeah,
there's a little camera icon you can click on, and you can either use a photo of a card that's already in your library, your phone photo library, or you can take a picture of your card. It'll automatically take you to that card, and you can then have that filtered by sold results. So if you didn't want to type out your search, you weren't sure what the card is actually called, that kind of thing, you can actually do that with eBay's little algorithm. And hey, maybe all you guys already realize that, and I've been using this app for years, and I don't know when they did that update, or maybe it's been there. I never ever realized that. Tab showed me that over this past weekend, and I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. Like if you're wanting to list from your phone, it just makes it that much easier and quicker, and less less thumb typing you got to do.
That is abso-freaking-lutely brilliant, Andy. I did not know that, and I'm on eBay all the time. Hell, I was looking up David Garrard cards last night. I look at the eBay app all the time, and do you remember David Garrard?
That name sounds so familiar.
David Garrard could play, man. Let's give it your best guess. Don't look at the chat. What team did David Garrard play for?
Oh man, I can't use Google or anything.
No. You can't, man.
I had no clue. The guy, I'm gonna have to rely on the chat. Anani's coming in to save me. He says Jags.
He was a Jaguars quarterback.
I cannot look at the chat. It's right here.
Right. God, I loved David. I've been obsessed. I came to a realization earlier this year, and I was talking to Andy about this during the summer, that all like my favorite all-time quarterbacks wore number 9 or a number divisible by 9, right? And David Garrard also wore number 9, man. The reason why I went down a David Garrard rabbit hole, and I know I'm losing a ton of viewers for the whole football card quest. We want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and they are out there talking about David Garrard. I did not know that he has one of his years with Jacksonville, he had a top 5 QBR ever. Ever. He had that good of a freaking season, and he didn't even make the Pro Bowl that year. I think it was like 2009 or whatever. But yeah, he took the job, I think, from Byron Leftwich. And I was like, God, he was kind of like a watered down Steve McNair. He wasn't as good as Steve McNair, but he was just really good. He was a thick quarterback who had some dual threat ability, but also could really dish out the football, man. But anyway, back to the. Or let me ask you this, Andy: is there a quarterback who wasn't really like a perennial Pro Bowler that you just love? One guy that from kind of that era that stands out to you in the chat. I want to hear it. Is there a quarterback that you just have an attachment to?
For me, it's gonna have to be Sean King, man, for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Like,
Yes.
I was a big Sean King fan back in the day, and I thought he was awesome. I didn't think he got a fair deal, and so yeah, I would go with Sean King.
Yeah, Tulane Green Wave, baby. They got a quarterback who's got some NFL draft love, Michael Pratt. This year we got Doug Flutie, you got Tommy Kramer in the chat. I freaking love it. Now here's someone that's been rocking with us for a while. Cole Vu says, "Are we jumping on the Jordan Love hype train?" We'll get to that, but let's see a few more of these. Rex Grossman. Oh yeah, Bears Super Bowl. Rex Grossman.
Yeah, I'm sure an Eagles fan somewhere in the chat has got Nick Foles queued up.
Nick Foles, Scott Mitchell, and here Randall Cunningham, Jay Forbes coming in, Cordell Stewart. I like that. But yeah, Jeff Blake. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, we're about to get into plays of the week. But two quarterbacks we've not talked a whole lot about is Jimmy Garoppolo, who won yet again, gets absolutely no hobby love. And Jordan Love also won again. So let's go to Colvu first. Are we jumping on the Jordan Love hype train?
Ooh, well, once again, I've got my exposure already, so I can't justify to myself to buy now whenever I'd buy the same card that I already have in a PSA 10 slab for like, 30% more than what I paid for it, or maybe more. I've got mine kind of priced kind of high because I know there could be a lot of FOMO, a fear of missing out with Jordan Love, because it's like this is finally his show, and the Packers look great in the trenches yesterday. Aaron Jones, a big factor. We have to monitor his hamstring injury. Like, he was untouchable. So that kind of made it easy. But we did see some critical, like, good decision making from Jordan Love, evading some pressure, making good throws. And I think the play calling and the way that they played in the trenches yesterday definitely helped him out. So he's in a system where he could potentially succeed at a pretty good level this year. It's a very interesting one where his card values could go up some more because you can compare him to the rest of that 2020. I mean, if you're holding sealed wax 2020 Prism, you are just once again holding a gold mine. No matter what happens, you just constantly goes back to 2020 Prism, right?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes you just got to roll with the eye test. And once I saw Jordan Love have just that limited action versus the Eagles, and it was limited, but it was Sunday Night Football, so I was watching. He looked good. He just did. And he might not ever be an elite quarterback, but he's in the NFC. He's with a winning organization, and he's with a big time head coach. LaFleur is a big time head coach, and he's got young weapons. I like it. I like Jordan Love. I really, really, really do. And normally, Andy, these small school quarterbacks who didn't just light the world on fire, I'm not on fire about them, but he just looks good. He really does. But yeah, there is a lot of product of him as well, though, out there because he is 2020.
Oh, there definitely is. I mean, he's got over 4,000 different rookie cards, each with their own print run. So you definitely have to take that into consideration. You're definitely going to want to try and get into a PSA 10 when it comes to his base cards. But you can see, like, his prices now on these base PSA 10s are definitely going higher than Herbert because of the immediate hype boost. Like, people will, on a whim, spend $60 to $80 on a PSA 10 rookie card of a quarterback on a big market team like Jordan Love. And at the same time, those same cards will dip down to $30 to $40 for Justin Herbert whenever this whole thing looks dysfunctional for him again, and they lose. So, it's I take that kind of stuff into consideration when you're looking at the market for these quarterbacks.
One other thing about Jordan Love, and I know it doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but I do want to include that his autograph is very unique, right? It is kind of like a pattern interrupt with how he actually signs his cards with the love actual, you know what I'm talking about? And he actually has the heart
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
Jay Hart.
I mean, I don't know. It just kind of sticks out to me when you just see a ton of autos just with autos, and I don't know. I know it doesn't do a whole lot to the price, and his auto's not rare at all. He has signed so much stuff, but it is interesting the J Love thing, the heart, one of the most universal symbols we have in the world, honestly. So there you go. Now, Andy, it is time for play of the freaking week. And are you going first or am I going first?
Oh, I go first. I could tell that. I mean, this one's easy for me, and it's a guy that was, I've mentioned him on Play of the Week before heading in. He was a guy I talked about in the Eagles' backfield that was going to be the guy. He was the guy, but this just was a lackluster game. Wasn't the big spike touchdown performance, but it's Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, 78% opportunity share. Rashad Penny was a healthy scratch. What does that tell you? And Kenneth Gainwell, 78% opportunity share between carries and targets. That's massive. I mean, we're basically stepping into Kenneth Gainwell bell cow territory behind the league's best offensive line. I want it, and his prices are still very cheap. Like, I could still get in, and I've got exposure. I've got some good exposure too, but I'm thinking about to add some more just to kind of set myself up while there's a lot of auctions on skill position players, and he didn't have the touchdowns. A lot of people like to react to the big touchdown performances, and I am instead chasing the opportunity. I'm chasing the snap share. I'm chasing the carry share. I'm chasing the routes run and the target share. Those guys that had high numbers in those categories but didn't necessarily convert into a bunch of touchdowns week one, those are the guys I'm chasing. And Kenneth Gainwell's he's at the top of my list.
I still think DeAndre Swift is going to do something. I know this first game was just not good at all, and there's always just some kind of excuse for DeAndre Swift, but I still believe in him. Why do I still believe in him? Andy, am I wrong to believe in Swift having a breakout game here or there?
Oh no, I think he'll have a breakout game here or there, but it's not going to be consistent. So it's going to be hard to pinpoint. I get it, but yeah, Swift is just such a high fragility rating to me, and clearly they don't trust him. He's going to have limited opportunities. It's kind of like buying into Kadarius Toney. Buying into Swift to me is like buying into Kadarius Toney, but obviously Kadarius Toney runs his mouth a little bit more, little bit more of a knucklehead than Swift. But to me, I look at those guys as very similar investments.
All right, Andy, I just sent you something in the private chat. If you can't put it up on the screen really quickly, because my play of the week is actually a macro one. Obviously, we well, I will say Andy has, but I've always been a college football guy. I love the NFL, as you guys can tell, but college football is just my wheelhouse. I just because I don't think we cover new releases as much as we probably should, but I love Bowman U. I do. And I do want to point out that Drake May's Bowman First will be in this next Bowman U product, and he will be an elite draft pick next year. Now, of course, Caleb Williams has been in plenty of product up to this point. I think all of you know he's going to be the number one overall pick. One play of the week is getting this checklist confirmed. I haven't been able to find a checklist for this product just yet, but seeing this photo lets me know that Drake May will be in Bowman First. And what I think is going to happen in North Carolina, I don't really love their team, Andy. I think they'll start losing some games. And I don't think Drake May will really be in the Heisman race. So when this comes out, I kind of want to get some exposure to him and buy some of his cards with that Bowman First logo because he's got a lot of Leaf stuff out there. But I do want to get my hands on some of this with the licenses and stuff like that on there. So my play of the week is just being on the lookout for this checklist and seeing who all will be there. I hope Riley Leonard, another quarterback who I've not seen in Bowman yet, will be in this. Maybe he has Bowman stuff out there. I haven't seen it. So yeah, this checklist is going to be pretty big for me.
Man, this is so clutch, Carter, because I mean, this is massive. I mean, look how much hype the Colorado Buffaloes have right now. Shedeur Sanders continues to go up, and he's got literally two cards. He's got a base Onyx, and then he's got some autograph variations, which are now over $300 for just a rookie auto, Shedeur Sanders. But I look at his main weapons who balled the freak out to help him out. Travis Hunter, Dylan Edwards. I look at these guys. I'm like, they got nothing, zero, zilch, no cards. So Bowman University has a massive opportunity here to generate a significant revenue. Plus, I love the Bowman University Chrome specifically. I'm glad to see that they're just focusing on that. They don't need to make a base Bowman. I think it's too much. I would love to see them just stick with this Bowman Chrome University because it's a great card. It's printed with some nice quality, thick Chrome card stock, and they could fill a massive void right now in the market of these guys like Shedeur and those guys that I mentioned, Travis Hunter, Dylan Edwards, and then I like Joe Milton, man. He doesn't have any cards either. So there's a lot of guys I think in the college scene right now that don't have cards that are going to be like serious draft capital candidates when it comes time. And man, it's massive. It's massive. There's a big opportunity for these cards, and we see it in the sold data day in, day out.
October 4th, as Derek points out, I'm ready for this checklist. Now, Andy, what I want you to do, you took my next point. Obviously, Colorado is kind of transcended, and Deion's there, and you have two, obviously, mega superstars on that team with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. But I want you to scroll down a little bit here on this page, and you'll see a pretty big Bowman First here. Not Derek Sky Penix. Keep going. Bang.
Oh, that's right. Marvin Harrison Jr. first. Oh my goodness.
And look at this. Okay. He's going to be a first round pick. He's going to be a top 5 overall pick. He will be the most hyped wide receiver prospect. He'll have more hype than Jamar Chase. And everyone knew Jamar Chase was going to be an absolute stud. Okay. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. All right. Son of an NFL legend. So everyone knows who this is by now. Ohio State arguably has the biggest college football fan base on the planet. On the freaking planet. And his Bowman First will be in this product. Okay. What if the freaking Texans and the Cardinals finished with the worst records in the NFL this year? That means the Cardinals would have pick number 1 and pick number 2. There is no way that the Cardinals do not draft Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison back-to-back unless someone wants to give him a king's ransom for the number 2 pick to make sure they can get Drake May and they can get more draft capital that way. So I'm just thinking of the possibilities here. Marvin Harrison, his first card. There's not a checklist I found yet, but that's why I want this to be my play of the week. All right, I kind of felt like keeping it to myself, but this is what we do, man. We share. I gave you Ryan Leonard a few weeks ago. He had the biggest win in college football in week 1, and now I'm giving you this. So I love college football, love college football cards. Really freaking excited about this.
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing this information, Carter. This is absolutely clutch, man. I'm excited about this because I'm going to be making a play on the potential quarterback that he's going to get drafted to. Like you mentioned, what if it is Bryce Young, or one of these guys, but then also just his draft capital in general. And we know from experience that whenever breakers and rippers, they get a hold of this product when it's released, I'm sure it's going to have a healthy print run. It's going to start circulating into eBay auctions, and right when it's released, yeah, it's at a all-time high because it's so brand new and there's so much limited supply. But I would say about 3 to 4 weeks after, all of a sudden you start seeing the continued amount of supply hitting the marketplace, but the auctions start going under value, and that's where us on the Quest need to step in and target those singles. I would probably say across the board for Marvin Harrison, anything with that first logo on it, put that thing in a top loader and save it.
Dude, yeah. He is a freaking stud. Stud muffin. He can flat out play. And obviously his dad's an all-time great. So yeah, it's very interesting. And Andy, we also know football cards, NFL draft. God, NFL draft. The one thing about the NFL draft compared to the hype cycle of the actual season is everybody's happy during the NFL draft, Andy. All 32 teams, more often than not, are feeling good about what they did in the NFL draft. Hell, the Packers were angry when Jordan Love was drafted. Looks like it might work out. So it's rarely are people just angry during NFL draft time. So there you go. And look, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's been a story, his Bowman first was in last year. So there you go. What's Ryan talking about here? Flawless Dutch auction at 11K right now. Time to snipe.
Oh yeah, so it's directly off the Panini website. That is, man, those are super interesting. They're very risky because what happens is the price continues to drop every 5 minutes, and you can buy at any point. But the lower you let the price drop, the more likely you are to miss out altogether. So you don't want to let it drop too low. Looks like Ryan might be going in big here on a flawless box, man. Whew, buddy. So
and
that would be.
I told Ryan to send me photos of what he bought at the Dallas Card Show in the Discord, but he didn't. Ryan doesn't like me. But yeah, Andy, pull it up. Pull it up.
It says the site can't be reached. PaniniAmerica.net has been shut down by the NFLPA and Fanatics. Just joking.
Crap.
Just joking. It does say but no, seriously, it does say refuse to connect. So I don't know what's going on. I can't get the Panini website. This is probably a result of so many people being logged in at once to their website to try and snipe this product in Dutch auction. You got to be on there, because I've participated in one of these before a couple of years ago, actually with Brad Nolan. Brad and he got me into it, and I was trying to get the product in the cart and refresh, and I had a lot of these website crashes at that time. So I think if I'm not in already, like I can't even get to their website, man.
All right, I just wanted photos of your actual cards that you bought. We're interested in what you guys buy. Send it to us in the Discord, especially if you buy some cool stuff. Card Guy 20 says Derek Carr to the moon.
I mean, the Saints could win this division. Sure. Look, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting competition between them, and the Bucks and the Falcons there. I think the Falcons are actually pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I looked at Derek Carr. He was ultimately a push for me. This is another defensive grind of a game. He did pass. He did have quite a decent passing output, but he definitely looked slow at times. He looked almost too relaxed at times in some of the decision making that he made. But I mean, they ultimately came away with a win. It wasn't a great performance though. So ultimately I got him as a push. I've seen a little bit of volume spike for him, but no price increases really. And so, yeah, we'll see what he can do. We do know they have a very easy schedule, and the Saints, like all around, are just like a solid team. So even if he's just decent, and then you get Kamara back in week 4, he's an interesting guy that could definitely go up more in value.
And one time shout out for my guy, Rashid Shaheed.
There you go, baby.
Rashid Shaheed can play. Michael Thomas. Who? I'm even wearing my Alvin Kamara shirt.
Yeah. What's up, man? Rashid Shaheed gets 2 carries. He gets 2 carries like Debo Samuel out there, 5.5 yards per carry. And then he also goes 5 receptions for 89 yards and a touchdown through the air. He gets the only touchdown of the game for the Saints.
Rashid, everyone, wherever you are right now, I don't care if you're watching this, listening to this on a podcast, whatever. Just it always makes me feel good. Rashid Shaheed. I always cheer for the underdogs, man. And he looks awkward. He changed his jersey number from 89 to 22. Doesn't even look like a receiver out there because he is one of one, baby. Rashid Shaheed, baby. The Saints keep producing just non-really draftable guys that turn out to be studs, man, whether it's Rashid Shaheed or 7th-round pick out of Hofstra, the great Marcus Colston. So there you go. All right, Dutch auction is down to $10K.
Yeah, and next price drop in 2 minutes and 43 seconds. And we will be getting down to this territory where, I mean, it should sell out really quick. This is 2022 flawless. It's important for people to remember it is 2022 flawless, so it's not going to have anybody from this year's draft class. This is all, the Brock Purdy draft class, I guess at this point is what we're calling it. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. I guess you could call it the Garrett Wilson draft class as well if you want to.
G-Dub.
So, yeah, I know that Saints game was interesting. They definitely beat up Ryan Tannehill really good. And Michael Thomas was out there, man, and healthy. Five catches for 61 yards on 8 targets. I mean, very interesting. Olave was still the wide receiver 1, your target leader. I think it was the target leader. But he had 8 catches for 112 yards. So, I mean, yeah, this Saints team is interesting. They're definitely going to be a contender out of the NFC South. I mean, just looking at their schedule and how well they are built in the trenches and the supporting cast, they're interesting, man.
Well, there you go. Another great show. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for dealing with the time adjustment here for our live viewers. Do you enjoy the lower start time? I haven't even checked on the actual. If we actually had like a huge dip in number of people actually watching this, we actually got more in here, so we might start earlier. Might keep the 11 a.m. start time. So we'll keep you up to date on that. The best thing you can do is join the Discord. I really do mean it, right? Andy gives you one-on-one time. I can also help you, but I'm not as smart as Andy. And the funny thing is there are smarter people than us in there as well. The David Hunters, the Chad Dyers of the world. There's a lot of people in there who really know what they're talking about. So come join us. We don't bite. We'll help you sub your cards, do all that good stuff. So,
yes, sir.
Wait, what does Chad say? If your bankroll can flex flawless, let it rip.
There you go.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Peace out, yo.
Ba-da-ba-ba.